Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Play Braid. This is a Let's Play that I've been wanting to do basically since I started doing Let's Plays, but I've hesitated up until now because the game is really just so beautiful that I feel like I would have been doing it a disservice if I didn't give it a loving tribute like I wanted to. So that's what I'm going to try to do right here. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Braid is a puzzler slash platformer that was released in 2008 for Microsoft Xbox Live Arcade, and then later ported to PC, Linux, and Mac. And I'm playing the PC version right now, but I originally played the Xbox 360 version, and I feel like that's probably how most people were introduced to this game. So, the central conceit, or I hesitate to say this, but the central gimmick of Braid is this idea that you can manipulate time, and I think it was kind of oversimplified by a lot of people thinking that you could just rewind time. This is not the case for the majority of the game. You can do a lot of really interesting things with, plying time in this game. And the puzzle design and actually the level design in general really makes use of this new gameplay feature, and the puzzles are ingenious and force you to think in really novel ways. I hope as you were listening to me, you took some time to digest the story right there, because that's something that it sets it apart a little bit from a lot of big indie games that come out. It's got a really fantastic story that's a little bit vague, but also touching. So take a minute here to admire the actually hand-painted backgrounds. Much of the game's $200,000 budget actually went to paying artist David Hellman $200,000 to create these. Or I shouldn't say $200,000 to him, but much of that $200,000 budget went to him to create these, and I gotta say, I think it's money well spent. So one of our objectives in Braid is to pick up those puzzle pieces like the first one you just saw right there. It's not our only objective, and in fact, you could pretty much get through the entire game without collecting any puzzle pieces if that's what you wanted. But these are the driving force of the puzzles, let's put it that way. Most of the puzzles are set up in a way that's going to make these puzzle pieces difficult to get. So although Braid is not your typical platformer, some typical platforming conventions still apply, as you can see with that double jump that I did on those two fuzzy animals right there. But most of Braid is really going to challenge the way that we typically think about platformers. Contrary to a lot of puzzler slash platformer type games, there's a pretty fair mix of puzzle pieces that require great knowledge of puzzling and those that require good platforming mechanics. So there I just demonstrated that rewinding time feature that you can do. And you can see there's two puzzle pieces here that are right now inaccessible to us. But that doesn't mean we can't go to this puzzle mural and set up the pieces that we have thus far. Now, I'm a little bit puzzle retarded. I just have, the time I should have spent doing puzzles as a kid, I spent playing video games. How ironic now that has come back to bite me in the ass. We'll put those three pieces together, because that'll save us some time a little bit later. And we'll leave those puzzle pieces for next time. We'll get those closer to the end of the video. So on these levels, and this level appears a couple of times throughout the game, this type of level I should say, all you have to do is kill these enemies, and when they're all killed, then the door to the puzzle piece at the top unlocks. So it sounds simple, but this is really our first taste in Braid of the kind of non-linear thinking that we're going to have to do. Because as you can see, I can rewind time as many times as I want, but I can never make that jump as is. So rewinding time back to before I made some mistake, let's go see if we can rectify this problem. Keep in mind, this is the third level that we've seen so far, so this is kind of a rude awakening, let's say. This is a harsh reminder that this game is not really like other games. The difficulty curve is pretty substantial, but I think it kind of allays any frustration that you might get, just because the whole aesthetic of the game is so beautiful. The hand-painted backgrounds, the music is fantastic, just the entire visual and audio design of this is superb. Actually, the game apparently was mostly finished as of about 2 years before it came out, but Jonathan Blow, the developer, I should say the designer and developer, but in any case, actually held back on releasing it for a long time because he wanted to make sure he had this perfectly crafted work of art, which is pretty much, I'd say what he got. I'm glad he took the time. Obviously, I would have liked to play it earlier, but I can't argue with this finished product. This is potentially one of the best games I've played in my entire life. So those puzzle pieces that I just got usually require a little bit more thinking. You can see that first one was more of a thinking outside of the box type deal, where I had to get the enemy and escort him over to a spot where I could jump on him. The second one was more of a typical platforming puzzle where you just have to time your jump properly. So this is kind of a mixture of a puzzle game and a hardcore platformer. And speaking of hardcore platformers, that Piranha Plant will not be the last Mario homage we see over the course of this game. I told you so. So, now that we have almost all of the puzzle pieces, let's set up this bridge so that we can get to the last two puzzle pieces that we missed. So we unlocked the next world because we finished this one, but we're gonna go back and get those two puzzle pieces so we can finish this world off 100%. So we'll go back over here and get this key. It's worth noting that although you might expect keys to open doors, this does not always happen. Sometimes the door will actually just refuse your key. Not every door, just certain doors. But, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So here, we have to keep that enemy alive, for reasons that you will see a little bit later. But this is another kind of ingenious puzzle that is, you know, not that difficult, but it eases you into the way you're going to have to think in order to be successful when you play Braid. So we went up there and got that first one. Now we're going to, you know, try to get this fuzzy little creature down here. And as you can see by rewinding time, I can actually manipulate his movements to make things so I don't have to wait for him to come back, which would normally cost me, you know, 10 seconds. But now I can spend that 10 seconds, I don't know, drinking a little bit more of a glass of water or something. In any case, you just saw how to get all of those puzzle pieces, so let's go back to the clouds, as they call it, and then back to our hub world, and assemble these puzzle pieces now that we have them. As I mentioned, I am a little bit puzzle dumb, but now that I've played through this level so many times, and I've probably beaten this game at least 5 or 6 times myself, I've kind of got the placement mostly down. Although I'm sure at times during this Let's Play, you guys are going to be sitting at home tearing your hair out, wondering like, God damn it, like, are you retarded? Are you retarded? I swear I'm not retarded. So those of you who might have seen the subtitled part of this, of my subtitled part of Braid Let's Play, the reason I redid it is just because I thought, you know, I really want to do it with voice. I think I have a lot more to say than I could say with subtitles, so I hope none of you are disappointed that I've scrapped that and gone with a voice Let's Play. So there is our finished product for the first world of Braid. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.